Today I want to talk about something that most people misunderstand completely. And what I want to talk about is depression, or in other words, the identity collapse. The feeling of losing yourself, the feeling that just nothing, no matter whatever you do, whatever you want, whatever you think, makes sense anymore. And people think this is a personal failure, but in reality, it's the opposite. Depression is the moment where your old identity just falls apart. It is the moment where your inner world breaks open. Not because something is wrong with you or you did something wrong, but more because something in you is waking up. And that's what so many of us just don't understand, because we never heard about it, we never learned about it. There's just no information out there. And here's the important part. This is not only happening inside individuals. This process, this ongoing depression, the depression of the pressure of the character you have been pressed into. And this is happening on a global scale, because it's not only you who have been pressed into your character that you're playing, but it's also us as a collective who have been pressed into that kind of character or world with all of the things that we have. You know, the history, the past, science, everything that is being told us, how things have been invented and stuff like that. It's kind of the same thing. And the interesting part now is that humanity is splitting into two timelines, or in other words, two pathways. Some people call it New Earth and Old Earth. It's kind of a dystopian path and an utopian path. And the mechanism that decides which timeline you enter is the same inside you and outside you. Micro and macro, personal and collective. It's just the same process. And that's why it's so important to understand it, because when you understand it, you have a choice. If not, then we're talking about free will. Does it really exist, or is there a destiny? And what we are going to talk about today is the information that you need to actually exercise free will and choose which path, or in other words, timeline, you want to go through and choose. So let's break it down. Let's start with the question, what happens inside one person when it comes to depression, when it comes to this concept. So think about it. When you grow up, you absorb an entire emotional world. You have family, school, culture, religion, work, sayings, expectations. All of this forms emotional anchors inside of your body. Anchors that build your identity. Anchors that tell you who you are supposed to be. Anchors that tell you what is possible and what is not. And here's the key. Your body believes emotion more than facts. Your body reacts to memory, a movie, an imagination, almost the same way as it reacts to real events. So fear, stress, pressure, guilt, shame. If you feel it, your system treats it as truth. No matter what happened, no matter if it's true or not, no matter if it's a fact or interpretation, if you feel it, your system thinks it is a truth. And this is how the old self is actually built. At some point in your life, these anchors start to loosen. Nothing excites you anymore, nothing feels right. You lose motivation in things, energy collapses, you don't want to do anything, you want to stay in bed, your meaning disappears. And it's important to remember that this is not a dysfunction. It's not a mechanism that should not be there. This is the breakdown of your old identity. This is the moment where your system says, I cannot continue like this. This collapse is depression, because you're being released. And this release, this depression, is the doorway. Now, let us look at how your identity was programmed in the first place. Emotional programming happens through everything you consume, which could be books, movies, news, television, shorts, reels, stories, or even common sayings. Let me explain. Movies, for example, are emotional simulations. When you watch a dystopia, your body reacts. When you watch a horror movie, your body reacts. That's why you're watching them, right? So when you watch a utopia, for example, your body reacts too. Your nervous system does not care what it is or if it's real or not. And this shows us something important. You already live on emotional planes not just in the physical world. And that's what many people think. Many people think that the physical world is the only and ultimate reality, even though they know there's a mental plane, even though they know there's an emotional plane. They feel it, right? But still. And books do the same. They show possible futures. They show alternate worlds. They show us timelines, how things could have been. Because in all of the potential that life and reality offers, everything that is possible exists already. The question is just, are you in the timeline to experience it, to see it, to witness it, or not? That's the only difference here. And your emotional reaction reveals which one are you tuned to. Or it's like a TV show. It's like the timelines are like a channel in TV. Depending on which one you choose, you can see, observe, and then of course feel certain emotions. And think about television. It's literally tell a vision. It tells you a vision of what or how the world is. And most news programs shows you what? Fear, scarcity, danger, conflict, collapse. Your nervous system absorbs this every time you watch or hear it. And this becomes your emotional baseline, not because it's true, but because it is repeated. And this keeps people actually stuck in a dystopian algorithm of reality. Now, this one is important. Sayings. Sayings are actually compressed emotional code. And here are some examples. You may have heard them, everybody has for sure, and we are even using them consciously or not. For example, nothing comes from nothing. No pain, no gain. Life is hard. Be realistic. Money does not go on trees. You need to earn your worth. Dreaming does not pay the bills. In German, we have the same codes. For example, von nichts kommt nichts, so nothing comes from nothing. Ohne Fleiß kein Preis, kind of no pain, no gain. So you have the same, more or less the same quotes in different languages. How come? Different languages, same conditioning. And now the interesting thing is that these sayings keep people in survival mode. They tell you to stay small. They tell you to follow the rules. They tell you that struggle is normal, that being sick or disease is normal. They tell you that suffering is identity. And these sayings reinforce the dystopian timeline we have been in for a very, very, very long time. And right now, in this Great Depression, because remember, individual and collective, so Great Depression as a collective is basically an opportunity to change into a different one and not to stay in a dystopian one, because if you stay in a dystopian one, just watch movies like Terminator and these things. You know what's coming. That's what most people probably are going to experience, because not many are open and willing to do this work and listening to this type of content. They want the dopamine, they want to scroll, they want to feel good, they want to be distracted. Okay, but let's talk about how depression actually breaks the programming, because this is what it does. It completely breaks it. At some point, your nervous system stops responding to these old scripts. The sayings do not work, the rules do not work, the cultural expectations do not work, the rewards do not work. Your identity just collapses. Your meaning gone. Your belief system collapses. Everything collapses. You are experiencing that everything falls apart. And this is depression. It's not the end. It is a reset. It is a restart. It is the end and the start, because there is never an end. There's no death. You die, you're being reborn. And depression is the same, but in the same life, as an individual and as a collective. And if something is dying or you are dying, then this kind of means that this is the moment where the old programming loses its power. It is the moment where you can choose a different timeline. It's like, imagine you can choose the game and character experiences that you want to make before you are starting a game. You can see everything laid out. You choose it, you go into the game, and you start like kind of with no memory. You just don't know, but you chose. And this is kind of the opportunity that you have right now, because you are kind of about to die and being reborn, and now you can see this type of information is going more public, more accepted. It's kind of everywhere. Everybody talks about it from a different perspective. And now you can basically choose the one that you would like to experience. And if you don't choose, you're choosing, right? Because if people ignore the stuff, they can ignore it. No decision means a decision. Decision for what? For the path down into the darkness where we wanted to come to in the first place. So this is actually the moment where you can choose a different timeline. This is the doorway. So here's the difference that changes everything. We're talking now about knowing versus believing. Belief is weak. Belief is mental. Belief collapses under stress. Belief depends on evidence. And you probably have thought about it. You believe something, but when the pressure comes, when things are being hard, you reset to the old. That's what happens usually with beliefs. And that is why a lot of times these affirmations and those things that in the spiritual community are being used a lot just don't work. They work when things are nice, everything is nice, but when it's being hard, it's just gone. You reset. It's like you didn't do zero inner work. And it's not because the modality is not working, it's because the belief is staying a belief and the belief is not becoming knowing. So belief depends on evidence. And knowing is different. Knowing is emotional. Knowing is embodied. So you are becoming it. Knowing is the result of experience and not just thoughts. When you feel something deeply in your system can accept it as a truth. And if this is happening, then your body updates its identity, which means that your algorithm shifts. You are going to experience new things. So basically, you're changing your personality, with it the algorithm, and with it, of course, your personal reality, which you are experiencing. Make sense? And this, for example, is why meditation works. Not because you think something, but because you experience something emotionally. That is what you can do with modalities like meditation. Experience creates knowing, and knowing updates the algorithm. And the algorithm, at the end, of course, chooses the timeline. So let's look at the feedback loop. Inside your identity, there are two loops. There's an old loop and a new loop. And the old loop is like something like you feel like the old self. You act like the old self. Life mirrors the old identity. The old identity strengthens and depression or the symptoms deepens. So you want to change something, but always kind of something from the past is coming up. Memories, cravings, kind of addiction stuff, like when you want something so much. That's kind of the old loop. And the new loop is something like you feel the new version of yourself. You can feel it, for example, in meditation before you are being it in physical reality. And if you do that, then your body accepts it. Your identity starts shifting. Life mirrors small confirmations. Some people call it synchronicity. You get more of what you are. That's like the algorithm. So knowing in that case then strengthens. The new timeline somehow starts to become familiar. And this is how you switch worlds. The question is just how much can you feel it and how far can it be from your current personality to then determine how big the new world is that you are going to experience. Because, for example, there's now a world that does not have AI. There's a world in which there are no wars. There's a world where people don't have to work. And you can enter any of those worlds. But the question again is, how much can you really go in and create that experience before it happens outside? Because outside is the conditioning, right? You do in the material world. You want to achieve something, do stuff, do more, and then get the result. And then you're feeling in a way. And that's exactly basically how you just confirm the path you are in. And what we talk about is transformation, which means the new path. And again, the new path is not being changed only through belief, but through emotional experience. Now, let us zoom out. What you experience inside your personal life is the same thing humanity is experiencing globally. The world is in its own identity collapse. So just look around. You see wars, you see struggle, you see exploitations, you see the survival game, You see all of those status things. You need to become someone, be someone, and be productive, all of those kind of things. So everything that you can see is a representation of what's going on inside of you. So this acts kind of like a mirror. And that is why there are the sayings which say, if you want to change the world, change yourself, because changing yourself is literally changing the whole world. And now look at the world. How is the world right now? People feel lost. Systems break down. Values dissolve. Meaning collapses. Collective depression rises. You see those bigger events, and people say, oh, the depression is because of this and that, and like the wars, or like the quarantine, or like the fears, and maybe, I don't know, potential another world war and things like that. All of this is not chaos. This is transition. And just like inside a person, two timelines are forming here too. Which one? The dystopian timeline, and of course, the utopian timeline. And the dystopian timeline is pretty much obvious, right? It's about fear, it's about control, it's about overwork, it's about survival, external authority, and probably obviously about AI domination for those who choose the victim identity. Because that's what people do. Oh, Agenda 2030, and then the Rothschilds, and then this, and then that. This is the victim identity. If you choose that, you will just confirm that you are going into tougher times. And now think about AI. How can it be tougher with AI, with something that can help us so much? I guess you have your own answer for that. And now look at the utopian timeline. How does this look like? Have you ever looked like the Italian Renaissance? So we're talking about things like creativity, self-expression, freedom, no forced work, collaboration, emotional sovereignty, human evolution. This is the timeline of knowing. Humanity is choosing it right now, but not logically. It's happening emotionally. The collective emotional baseline decides the future, and every individual who shifts their algorithm contributes to the new world. And this is why you see now more and more people getting this information, talking about it, spreading it, reading the books, doing the work, becoming initiates instead of just philosophers, just talking and thinking. They're actually becoming it, and with it, joining the path of the new world, which will be a utopian timeline and not the dystopian timeline. And yes, of course, you may say now, yeah, but many people don't choose it, many people are still the same, and how can this then work? How can they join the timeline? And the answer is they can't. For the utopian timeline, the separation needs to be removed, which means we cannot be this many billion people on Earth. So these people on Earth who are choosing the timeline will not be part of the new utopian world. They are going to be part of the other world, which might look tragic. Yes, I know, it can be scary, but at the end, this is just how reality works. And now let's connect the micro and the macro. So your personal depression mirrors the global depression. Your personal transformation mirrors the global transformation. Your personal identity shift mirrors the new world that is forming right now. Micro chooses macro. You choose yourself, and you also influence the collective. That is why everything is up to you and about you. And now I understand many people might ask now, okay, I heard it, you told me about it, it makes sense, but how do I install now this new identity that chooses a utopian timeline instead of going into enslavement and more survival and more war and more pain and suffering? How do you do that? So here's what you do. Step 1, define the new identity, which means you don't define goals. Goals is the identity of someone who needs to survive, someone who needs to achieve something, who needs to show something, who needs to hide something. It's not about goals. It's about identity, how you want to feel. How does freedom feel? How does clarity feel? What is your emotional baseline? And after this is clear, crystal clear, you are entering a meditative practice to experience it. So you go into the meditation, you slow down, you slow your breath, you relax, and then you start to focus on this new future that you defined as if it is now. And it's not just imagination, you are going in it. It's like experience. It's about the body reacting, and when the body reacts, the installation of those new programs begins, which means you're getting into the new algorithm, which will lead you then automatically to that world that you want to be in. And this is something that you are going to repeat until it's familiar. You need to sit. You just sit so long until you experience it, like your life depends on it. Because guess what? It does depend on it. So you need to repeat it until it's familiar, because familiarity becomes identity, and identity becomes knowing, and knowing becomes algorithm, and again, the algorithm chooses the timeline. And in this process, during this process, you need to look for micro confirmations. So when something small in your day aligns with a new identity, acknowledge it. Don't say, yeah, it was just coincidence, just happened, I don't know. Acknowledge it. This strengthens the new loop. Look for synchronicities, things that fit to your new self, to the new world. This is going to accelerate the shift. And you see, actually, it's pretty basic. It's not even that hard. I mean, it may be hard to define what you want, to define the emotions, to sit there for a long time, doing it many times until it becomes familiar, but it's not that complex, right? So now it's just about doing it while understanding that depression is not failure. Depression is the opening. It is the moment where the old identity dies. It is the moment where external programming dissolves. It is the moment where you can choose the new timelines, because being in depression, not wanting to go out, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to meet anyone, equals sitting in the meditation. This is your space. It's happening for you. It protects you from the old path, because you are not meant to walk the old path. That's why you don't want to do anything. But your mind, your anchors, the old programming, the addictions that gives you kind of a security that are always there for you, keep you in the old. So letting go and trusting it, this is basically the great work here. And remember, movies, books, news, sayings, culture, everything are emotional programs. They show you the two paths ahead, and you can choose what you want to see. The same like on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. The things that you interact with, that you're repeating, are the things that you're going to see and experience more and more and more. So it's about you choosing. You cannot just say, yeah, things are like that. No, I don't believe in it. If you do that, you stay in the old. It's okay. It's not bad. But you just need to know it's the old. If you want the new, you are switching. You are commenting, you are like focusing on new things until they become familiar. And this is kind of, as I said, a meditative practice. And with that meditative practice, you're going to install the new identity. Knowing is how you choose your timeline. The future without forced work is not random. It is chosen emotionally, internally, through knowing. And the people who shift the algorithm now are the ones who are going to enter the new world.